Mic check, 1, 2. Okay, so can I test this? Is it working?
Yeah, right.
Alright, cool. Whereas our esteemed teacher Raj in his talk just now gave us a very personal story of humanity and the struggles that he went through, I am going to attempt in the next, hopefully 18 minutes, to tell you another story related to humanity, but perhaps on a different level. Okay, let's get started. In my 23 years of existence, I never thought that any of my ideas would ever be worthy of giving a TED Talk on. So yeah, top of the world. Doesn't get any better than this. Alright, the title of this presentation is We Are All Explorers, which may not seem evident at first glance because the word explorer is often synonymous in the picture of our imagination with people that usually like this, the really brave and adventurous type of people in the world. Admittedly, I look nothing like the people in those pictures, and I don't think a great many of us have the opportunity of having an awesome job as being like an astronaut, or what is that, a professional hipster level maximum. For us modern day desk-bound urban people, there's just something about explorers that makes us think of the select few of the human race, of people who spend their lives boldly going to places we would never even dare to go to and probably never get a chance to go to. We also don't tend to think of ourselves as explorers because these people who do get the opportunity to wander to far and exciting places are usually the privileged and elite class of our civilization. That, and compounded by the fact that nowadays there seems to be nowhere left to explore anymore. It appears that people alive today have arrived on the scene at a time in which we are too late to explore the Earth, and we are still too early to explore the universe. Like I said, it's a human story, but on a different level from Teacher Raj's talk. We've already seen and mapped the Earth in its entirety from space, and we still lack the necessary technology to carry us to the stars, or as Arnold Schwarzenegger put it, get your ass to Mars. Nowadays we'd be lucky enough to explore the latest shopping mall or discover a new McDonald's that's opened up in the next town. We've become victims of our own success. So we end up asking ourselves one of the big questions of life: where do we go from here? Seeing that our exploratory lifestyle has taken a sidestep to the more peaceful and tranquil life of modern human civilization. But I would like to argue, ladies and gentlemen, and make a very strong case today that the inherent exploratory nature of all human beings everywhere is not only an essential part of what makes us human, it should not be discounted yet, and it should be preserved because of the role that it played in having made us, the human race, successful in the past, and it will no doubt play a big role in helping us overcome many of the challenges in the future. What I mean by exploratory nature, ladies and gentlemen, is the inherent, naturally born human desire to chase uncharted new places and explore untouched new horizons. Horizons that may exist in the real world, the physical world that we live in, or, here's the kicker, here's the exciting part, the world of the expression of the human mind, the world of ideas. Herman Melville, the author of the Romantic era classic Moby Dick, it's a book about a giant sperm whale, once spoke about the exploratory nature of human beings, saying that I am tormented by an everlasting itch for things distant and remote. I long to sail forbidden seas. We live in very challenging times. Our generation alive today is beset on all sides by a variety of socio-political problems, environmental challenges, and economic issues that put our prosperity, and in fact even our continued survival, in certain doubt. Even recently the world was rocked with the events of the terrorist attacks in France, Nigeria, but let's not forget our brothers and sisters in Pakistan. Places worlds apart, but united in the same common human struggle. So you might be wondering, ladies and gentlemen, why we should bother with equipping ourselves with an outward outwards-looking perspective of exploring new frontiers when we still have a wealth of problems to solve down here? Should we try to solve those problems first, or are they in fact a reason to inspire our search for a better tomorrow? Now, if you study human history, it's always been the exploratory nature of human beings that has helped us to overcome the various challenges of that age and usher in, and subsequently usher in, the next golden age. There's a saying that goes that necessity is the mother of invention, but I would like to say that ultimately curiosity is the mother of progress. The age of exploration and discovery, also known as the age of sail, from the 15th to the 17th centuries, brought us out of the medieval dark ages and into the light of the age of the Renaissance and the Enlightenment. You don't even have to look that far back to see a connection. The race to space from the 1950s, boy, that was a good time to be alive, laid down many of the foundations for the technologies that we have today in the information age. So you could say, as far-fetched as it may sound, that the space shuttle helped to invent the iPhone. Of course, there was a lot of overbearing capitalism as well as bitter tension and rivalries in between, and there are still many of us humans on Earth that have yet to fully experience the benefits of the globalized world environment that we live in today. We still have much to learn, but the steps forward that we have made so far are owed to a curious few that chase the unknown with the desire to at least escape to or discover something new. Now, I'm a scientist, but being a scientist is a very broad term. It doesn't mean that you're this mad hat, socially awkward person that likes to wear a white lab coat. We are simply a very inspired group of people that are endlessly captivated with finding out as much as we can about the world that we live in, with systematically finding out as much as we can about the world we live in. The science is a process, the scientific process, and nothing tickles our fancy more than the investigation of the unknown frontiers of human knowledge. So you could say that we scientists are all explorers at heart. Hello. Beep. So ever since I could remember, I've had a deep passion for astronomy and astrophysics. It was a love affair motivated by a feeling that I could scarcely articulate nor understand. It just simply felt right, like when you're in love. I don't know whether you can be in love with astronomy. It's not a person, but yeah. Okay. It all started when I was a child, actually. I figured that we're all naturally born scientists and explorers when we were all children. At youth, we were all equally curious and intrigued with finding out as much as we can about this big, wide, open world that we live in. As a child, I also watched a lot of science fiction. Any fans of Star Wars in the house? Yeah? Okay. Can't wait for the episode 7, right? Yeah. Any fans of Star Trek? Yeah. Live long and prosper? You guys can fight now. That's actually a geek thing. But science fiction has always been heavy on the theme of space exploration. Sci-fi is filled with stories of countless perilous journeys to the stars, and I'd like to share with you today a perilous journey to that frontier, the unknown frontier that I mentioned in the previous slide, and perhaps give you a glimpse of that passion that I hold so dearly, the experience of exploring the universe. I sound so smart when I say that. The universe. Okay, so we'll start exactly where we are right now, right here at FCME Theater. That's a view of this place from about 1,800 feet in the air. A bird's eye view, you can see most of the campus grounds. We're gonna leave Malaysia first. That's Malaysia. And this is provided to us by our good friends at Google Earth. That's Malaysia and all of its neighbors. Next, we're going to leave the planet. To do something. Next, we're going to leave the planet, but I'd like to check something at about 1,000 miles up in the air. Oh, well, what do you know? It's not flat after all. Now we can leave the planet. This is as far as you can go from Google Earth. It is a view of our home from thousands of miles away. I turned off the national borders option in this picture for a reason. And that's because when you get this far away from Earth, national borders are the least of your concerns, bro. Finding a source of oxygen and shielding yourself from the intense radiation of outer space is definitely a more pressing concern. From this not so distant vantage point, gone are all the lines of demarcation that divide us, all the arguments that we have over whatever, race, resources, politics, satirical cartoons of religious figureheads who lived over 1400 years ago. They all seem to pale in comparison. Dans français très petit, very small. And ladies and gentlemen, we have only just begun. But at this point on, I'm going to have to turn off Google Earth. We'll make a pit stop by the moon. This is the farthest that any human has ever traveled to. It is a view of our home. That distance right there is about 250,000 miles away. This picture was taken in 1968 by the crew of Apollo 8. Before we actually landed on the moon, we sent a mission to orbit it once. And this wonderful image right here called Earthrise was taken as the Apollo 8 spacecraft was coming out of the dark side of the moon. Sadly, I don't think they found any transformers there. Good, you guys have some of that geek in you. It's nice to hear. Now, Apollo 8 was the first ever manned mission to the moon. So this image right here actually represents the first ever image of our world taken from the viewing perspective of another world, and I think that's quite impressive. I know that Twitter and Instagram did not exist in 1968, but I'm pretty sure hashtag #PlanetPhi would have been very popular back then. Look at all those photo bombs. Right, okay, so we'll continue our journey we'll start to leave the solar system, and as we get farther and farther away from our solar system, the sun that supplies our planet with all of its warmth and light required to sustain life. It supplies Malaysia with a little bit of extra warmth and life because it's always so hot outside. As we get farther and farther away, the sun will become dimmer and dimmer until it becomes just another point of light indistinguishable from all the other stars that we see in the nighttime sky. We'll continue our journey to about the distance that light travels in 1 year, at about less than 1 light year, is the Oort cloud. That fuzzy looking sphere right there enclosing our solar system in the center is comprised of millions of chunks of rock and ice, and occasionally one of these chunks of rock and ice would get deflected into our solar system, lighting up on the way in, and we see them as comets. So yeah, sorry to spoil that mystery for you. Comets are in fact not made out of angel farts or angel dust or whatever. Yeah, we'll continue our journey to our local stellar neighborhood. These are the groups. I'm telling you, your story was very personal. I'm taking us out of the cosmos right now. Okay, we'll continue our journey to our local stellar neighborhood. These are the groups of stars that are the closest to our sun that is in the center right there. I suppose that once we do leave our solar system, these are the places that our children's children will be able to explore to once we've started to leave our home system and truly become citizens of the cosmos. As we get further and further out, we see the distinct spiral arms that make up our galaxy until eventually we see the Milky Way in its entirety. Every point of light in this picture is a star that could potentially have orbiting it a planet that harbors life. Recent discoveries made by the Kepler Space Telescope, among other methods of planet hunting, have found out that planets outside of our solar system, known as extrasolar planets, are actually pretty common. So there really is no shortage of interesting places to explore to out there in the universe. Excuse me. We'll zoom out. Eventually, we see our galaxy, the Milky Way, the Andromeda Galaxy, and our local group of galaxies. Now we have to change our perspective a bit. Whereas in the previous slide, all the points of lights were stars. In this picture, every single point of light that you see right now is in fact an entire galaxy filled with billions and billions of stars. I always wanted to say that. Billions and billions of stars. You can see our galaxy, the Milky Way, is surrounded by much smaller dwarf galaxies, and like how satellites orbit the Earth, these smaller dwarf galaxies are gravitationally bonded to the Earth. And the other major player in this picture is the Andromeda galaxy, the much larger Andromeda galaxy, which is right now on a collision course with the Milky Way. So if you could make a video out of this image and fast forward it to 4 billion years into the future, you'll start to see the objects on the left-hand side of the screen here start to collide and merge with the objects on the lower right-hand side of the screen in a very eerie and mysterious dance of light, matter, and energy. 4 billion years is a very long time, and if we do not destroy ourselves by polluting our environment or nuclear Armageddon, you think about where the human race would have explored to and what new wonders we would have discovered by the time that those galaxies actually do collide. For me personally, I remain very optimistic that a large part of the human future will take place in the great depths of outer space. So I just had like a nerdgasm saying that. So all those galaxies that we saw just now are actually part of a cluster of galaxies known as the Virgo supercluster. I am not making this stuff up. The Virgo supercluster itself is just a small part of a much larger supercluster called Laniakea, which in Hawaiian means immeasurable heaven. The Virgo cluster is just one of the arms of this massive structure in outer space. And we're right here right now. But Laniakea itself is still pretty local. It is just one supercluster among millions and millions of superclusters. And we know that there is some structure to the wider universe. And this interconnection of millions and millions of superclusters in the form of a truly massive cosmic web of stuff, makes up what is known as the observable universe. This is where our journey will have to end for now. We call it the observable universe because beyond a certain point, light and other signals from beyond its boundaries, beyond its boundaries have not yet had a time to reach the Earth. So we don't really know what's on the other side of that curtain of the unknown that prevents us from seeing further than that. So we are all right now in the middle of all of that. It's a lot to take in, and it is easy to feel lost. Lost in the mystery of the universe, but the feeling of being lost in mystery is actually an important part of the experience of exploration, which is exactly what this talk is about. And the feeling of being lost, I think engineers would know this because we feel lost a lot in a lot of our education, but the feeling of being lost is usually a precursor. It's what you experience before you arrive at that next great brain blast or that next great idea or vista or perspective. In fact, Albert Einstein once said that the most beautiful thing we can experience is the feeling of the mysterious. It is the source of all true art and science. So go ahead, starting today, go out there and embrace the world and all of its wonder and mystery in order to produce the profound and push forward the boundaries of discovery. Okay, time to wrap this up. I just took you on a journey from our little backyard here to the backyard of infinity. But some infinities are much larger than others, as author John Green is fond of saying in his book, The Fault in Our Stars, which was recently made into a movie. What made this journey possible was the infinity of human thoughts and ideas, and as mysterious and nebulous as it may sound, I think that infinity is worth exploring for all of us. Note that to take you on this journey, I did not have to build a spaceship that could travel faster than light, although that would be pretty freaking awesome. Any one of you want to sponsor a spaceship? Anybody? All I needed was a spaceship of the imagination and a weekend of doing PowerPoint slides. So coming back to that picture that we saw at the beginning of the presentation, this is undoubtedly one of my favorite paintings made during the Romantic era. It currently hangs in a museum art house somewhere in Germany. To my artistic human side, I'm an engineer, but I still have an artistic human side. it makes me think about the age of exploration that we live in today. The frontier of exploration is, we embark on a journey powered by ideas, made possible by the limitless potential of the human mind. And the frontier of exploration is everywhere, and it is everything that we can think of and imagine. All you have to do is find a way to tap into that, and it will take you to very far places. Whether it's art or humanities, science or philosophy, music or history, whatever form of expression, we are all explorers. Excuse me for a bit. Not yet, not that yet. We are all explorers. Come on, guys. Next slide. Well, that was rather anticlimactic. Oh. We are all explorers, and the world needs explorers. Thank you.